So there's been quite a few things that happened since the last time I talked about anything censorship related. Not gonna sit here and lie, it's been quite the hassle juggling a lot of this news because once you take one day off, a million things just happen. The only good thing is we have a bit more good news than we do have bad news, which granted, I guess they're kind of both on equal playing fields in a way. But, you know, the UK still be on a weird type of stuff, trying to go ahead and attack these different private messaging apps and all that sort of stuff, which is never really good, because what the hell is the point of you even having that if your government just steps in and be like, no more private messaging for you, even though, let's just be honest, they high-key probably also use that type of thing at big governmental levels, like they use VPNs. Why would you ban VPNs for everybody to use but only for you to use? It's some nonsense. But what else do we expect from the UK government? All I can really say is I feel so terrible for the people that live over there that basically can't do anything about it and can't even really move. The only person that I've really seen from the UK that says they're gonna move if things don't change up is News Daddy, Dylan Page. I don't know if y'all know who that is, but I like his content personally. But when it comes down to it though, essentially, even he says, yo, I'm UK man, but I ain't finna be UK man no more if they don't stop with the nonsense. So essentially, even he is going to be dipping off very soon if nothing really changes. But like I said before in the beginning, there is some good news to be had here because Trump decided to be like, you know what? I'm about to give you guys the executive order that you have never seen before, which is basically not getting debanked by a lot of these banking places, because yes, this very much was actually needed. Which granted, let's be real, this whole executive order was mainly just to get, you know, these banks and payment processors, you know, get their ass handed to them because of what they did to Trump back then and try to hold him in their entire administration. That's really what that is. But it is a benefit to us too, because they can't pull, or at least in a more harsher way like they have done, they can't pull the nonsense that they did with Steam pulling off games or whatever and all that stuff with itch.io. Now they can't really do that because of reputation risk, based off of feelings and things like that. They can still pull that card, but not necessarily pull it in a way where it's like, oh, we feel, right? We have feelings towards that sort of thing, so we can't have that to be purchasable or anything like that. So now they can't pull that type of card, and basically you can't get shut down with that sort of feeling, right? Because ultimately you can't get shut down because of your beliefs, because like your political stances and your just regular, you know, religious beliefs as well too. Like, you can't actually get hit with any of that when it comes down to based on beliefs. Now you can still get hit with it if it's actually like detrimental to the brand and you can F over that brand legitimately, then yes, they can still invoke whatever clause they're gonna do so. But still, you know, they can't really hold everybody like they did. And now, you know, Steam is not necessarily going to get held in that direction, and really no one's going to get held in that direction anymore, which is a fantastic sort of thing. However, that is not the main thing I want to talk about today. That's not the main thing I really want to bring in a major focus on, because there is still one thing, and really one thing that still bothers me, which granted there's like a lot of things still that is out there. Collective Shout is still beyond BS, and there's still tons of censorship stuff across the world that is still on nonsense. But there is one thing that has been bothering me since they really sat there and announced it, which is YouTube and their whole AI age verification thing. It is still the biggest piece of informational news that has to be talked about, because it is still the big thing that affects everybody. Because let's be real, most people these days aren't watching regular TV, they have internet. They're basically looking up YouTube all the damn time. Most people do. And when it comes down to it, if they start throwing down a lot of this age verification stuff, trying to get more information out of people, it's not something that's good. It's not something that's a net positive. It's something that they don't need to do. Add extra data collection and all this sort of stuff into the pockets of YouTube, which you already know that can very much go into very much wild and different directions than it should. Again, I don't think I need to express this harder than I already have, but you should not be giving up your third, really giving up third-party companies your data, your information, your your government status, all that sort of stuff. They don't need all that for you to watch YouTube, right? That is just is what it is. That's just how it is. There's no reason for it whatsoever. Now, for the side of YouTubers, when it comes down to, providing ID identification, stuff like that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's something that we've already kind of done, right? So for us, because obviously if you become a YouTuber and you decide to make content, you want to make money from content, they're going to need information from you. So I know in some cases that's not the full-blown case, but if I remember correctly, I think I gave out my, like, some card or something like that. I'm not necessarily sure. It's been a minute since I've been, able to just get monetized. So it's been a while, so I don't remember the full steps. But I'm pretty sure YouTubers are pretty much, if anything were to happen, we're cooked in this area, just all of us. So that's just how it is. But just to keep it very much a stack, it shouldn't have to be that for people that are just trying to view the site or trying to watch certain videos and things like that, right? Because all it takes is just one big ass data breach, and then boom, everybody's cooked. Everybody is beyond cooked when it comes down to it, right? Now, is everybody's information going to be used in all that sort of way? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, it is still a big ass risk of people to get absolutely called into the slaughter if something happens, right? And like we said before, there is the obvious big issue in the room, which is the robot that obviously operates a lot of YouTube when it comes to monetization and just how to verify certain things in general, right? They want to use that for like an actual verification process, but their very quote-unquote smart AI bot is also reasonable for getting you demonetized. They're also very much reasonable for, getting you essentially the wrong sort of age because of AI, and then you have to put in your, your credit card information, your age of selfie picture, or like, some government ID and all that sort of stuff. In the most obvious terms, it's just genuinely not good. Like, again, for content creators, we probably already gave our information out, and that's just how it is. We're cooked regardless. But still, when it comes down to, what everybody else is doing, or at least what they want everybody to basically do, it shouldn't be that way. Again, it is something that is not going to just sit here trying to protect children. It is not about that. It is about potential control. It is about people coming through that could potentially F you over by getting your data, collecting that shit, selling it off, and then ultimately you get hoed in some different shape and form. Because again, all it takes is that one data breach, and maybe not even that, right? The last thing I want to see is people go ahead, try to live their life, have an opinion about something, and then these credit card companies, or or at least they used to, or these others have a businesses try to deny you service or try to hoe you in whatever way possible because you said something different that obviously they want to hear. That's basically the problem with the UK right now. Essentially, they can't say anything that they really want to, and if they were to, they get hoed by their own system and arrested for literally no type of reason. That is just how it is. I don't really think you should be putting any information online about yourself unless it's absolutely 100% necessary to do so. I don't think any third-party company needs to get your information. I don't think it's a thing that needs to happen, because ultimately all this does is being like, okay, if we get people's whole like ID here for this company, and every other company want to taste, and then it's going to get into legislation, and it's going to be weird ass legislation that's going to hold people out even worse, and it's just overall not good. It leads it to more things of censorship, or new potential censorship to come through, more vague laws to kind of come through and hoe you in whatever other direction, and overall it's just not a good time for anybody at all, no matter what country you in. It's just not good whatsoever. Again, vague laws sometimes can be on some nonsense, but also when it's done right, it could be on a benefit for basically everybody to kind of have. And I'm not trying to say all this stuff to even be like a downer or anything like that, but it is just the truth of the situation. This is why I've been very much, vocal against a lot of bigger content creators when they don't speak up about things like this, because things like this should be spoken up about. You shouldn't have to just give out your information to random ass people that obviously will say, yeah, we'll delete your data, right? We'll delete your photos and whatever, even though damn well they probably have it on a backup somewhere when it comes down to it, and then they can very much use it for whatever means that they basically want to, right? And the reason why I'm so again mad about content creators not saying anything about this is mainly because they have all the influence in the world, all the power in the world to basically use their audience to tell them, hey, this is a good thing, you shouldn't vibe with this, or hey, this honestly really could just be a bad downfall for everybody, so you might not want to do that. But ultimately, no one's really saying anything, and it's really not good. It's really not good, when it comes down to it. Because ultimately, they could decide to be like, hey, you know what? You said something on the video we don't necessarily like, so we're going to hold you even more than the system already does. And essentially, it's really because they didn't say a damn thing. Right? It's because it could happen because a lot of other content creators don't say anything, and that's a huge effing problem, right? A lot of them don't want to say anything because they don't want to upset their audience with bad news and things like that. But you won't have an audience to defend anymore or to really perform in front of if you don't really say anything about this shit now. And for people that might be thinking that, oh, people are over exaggerating on this one, or you're a creator, you already gave up your information, so why do you care? I care, and a lot of other people care, because we don't want a situation to happen like this again or any other point in time when it comes down to it. The reason why we're fighting against this is easily because of censorship in the long run. Because again, people's indifference in terms of the situation of how we got here is the reason why a lot of this stuff has popped off, right? Because people can't make up their damn mind whether they want to actually do something to stop censorship from going through, or to chill out because it's not my battle, it's in a different country, I'm not into that sort of fetish, or anything like that. That is basically the reason of how we got here to this damn day. Lollies, it started with them. It really started with a lot of other stuff, but the big catalyst was it started with lollies. We have said time and time again, go ahead and maybe try to help them out instead of trying to look like a dumbass. Even if you don't like it, it would lead into a lot of the stuff that we're in, that's gonna happen now. And essentially, no one defended that shit. And then it went to furries, and then furries start feeling the effects. And then after that, it started dipping into other things of NSFW content. Still no one cared. And then it started getting to violence and horror games. And then everybody's like, okay, now you're pushing too far, but everybody else is already sitting in their chairs eating popcorn, already telling you, hey dipshits, we were trying to tell you the entire damn time, Lolicons more than anybody, that this shit was gonna get bad. And ultimately, no one effing listened, because no one had the right mind to be like, hey yo, this could lead into a problem. Instead, everybody was basically still in their indifference towards NSFW content. And I get it, right? It's something that is very much could be a taboo for a lot of people. It's something that maybe they don't want to touch with a long pole. I get that. But at the very same time, when it affects things of entertainment, when obviously your governments, your collective shouts, your activist groups, your people that have way too much time on your hands focus way more harder on a stupid ass pixel on a screen more than actual children being harmed or actual crimes being committed, then yes, I do think we're in a problem, and I do think shit is going to hit the fan way harder than a lot of people think, right? That is how it is. That is what we have been saying on this channel for a long ass time. That shit is going to hit the fan because literally no one paid attention to the bigger picture of things and how it's going to go. Because it's not going to just affect fictional content, it's going to affect real life. And that's where a lot of this age verification stuff has come from. And that's why the UK is cooked really more than cooked than it already is in 5 different styles of filet mignon. That is how it is, bro. Like, this whole battle wasn't trying to stop people from just taking away the cunning and the lollies and the furries and all the other weird stuff that people don't really care for. It was basically to stop censorship from getting any more of a foothold than it already has, which it has done so for so damn long, thanks to your anime translators, thanks to just different changes that Sony loves to make in their games when it comes to say anime and things like that, and just the amount of times the payment processors before this moment even happened, how they would just hoe anime and just figurines and merchandise and stuff like that that was coming from Japan. The signs were always there every step of the damn way. There was always a path towards this current situation, but no one paid attention because it's all gooner slop, it's all simp shit, it's all perverted weird shit that comes from that predator country Japan. No one really cares, when in reality you should have been trying to been vocal for Japan to help them out when it comes down to it, and just not just Japan but all across the board of all the weird wondrous stuff that exists out there, right? Again, you don't have to be a fan, you don't even have to like it. The big thing is, if it gets its way, censorship will come, and lo and behold, that's exactly the situation that we are currently in. And now everybody and their mother is hiding behind protect the kids while secretly happy to collect your data. YouTube is a part of it, Spotify is very much a part of it, Xbox is a part of it, everybody is basically a part of it, and now we're all basically looking like fools when it comes down to it. Only just barely scraping by to not get hoed by a lot of different entities, and thankfully there is some steps in the right direction where we won't get hoed quite desperately too badly, thanks to that executive order that has kicked in when it comes down to it though. But that's just a little break for America though, because there's places outside of America that exist. There's more than it's just America that exists in the world, guys. There is plenty of different countries, different rules, and different ways of how censorship exists out those borders. Australia been hit with it so damn bad with their weird ass government and their weird ass policies and things and sort like that, talking about, oh, the moment you use a VPN a child's life is in danger. That is nonsense. Ain't no way somebody be actually thinking that and actually said that, but it's true. That is what they believe, and that is essentially what the UK also believes, that if you use a VPN you're basically a monster, and that's just how it is, right? Even though those very same people that put that law into place basically use a VPN themselves just to figure out what the hell is going on. The fact that news and information is getting locked out because of these censorship ass having ass moves by these people is crazy. That shit should not happen. News and information is essential for people to know what the hell is going on and needs to know what is actually the problem here, so we can maybe do something if it's going to affect us or things like that. It's, again, and I said before, a big ass reason why am I covering a lot of this stuff, because people need to know. Why is it important that you go out and share the videos that I've done on this topic or subscribe to this channel with it? It's because people need to know that you are getting hoed, that you're absolutely getting robbed of every opportunity that you might be able to have. Everything is getting censored, and you need to step up before it's too damn late. It's already getting to that too damn late sort of action when it comes down to it, and we only have maybe a few minutes left, or I won't say minutes left, but you get the point. Basically, we only have a little bit of time left to maybe reverse a lot of the stuff that's going on. If no one pushes back, everybody's cooked, and we wouldn't necessarily have anything anymore, and that's just absolute GG's. And the crazy thing is, a lot of these, different people, these crackheads that be hiding behind the, oh, we just want to protect kids sort of mantra. The crazy thing is, they'll use that. They'll spam that even if tons of people, very much see what's going on. They'll spam that to high heaven just to get more information out of you, or try to get you to do stuff that you don't really want to do, and things of sort like that. That is, again, why I talk about it when it comes down to this sort of situation. It's annoying. It shouldn't be the case. Sure, in America, maybe it might be a harder time for stuff like this to take effect because of our, founding fathers when it comes down to, the foundations of the, Bill of Rights and how, the things work out for the American country of North America. It's shit. It's stuff like that. Get free speech, the freedom of expression. Sure, it might work out for us, but not for everybody else. And who's to say all that pressure from other countries won't come in and F us over, and we just might say, you know what? F these rights, we're gonna go ahead and hoe everybody just because we can. There is always a real possibility where that can happen, and if that junk happens, that's a terrible time. That is a terrible time, and if something like that violates any of those rights, high key, we're not living in America anymore. We're not living in America anymore, and we basically live in some weird ass country that is not the US. That's just how it is for somebody that does live in the US. So, obviously, never stop fighting against these people, these payment processors, these banks that likes to hoe other people. Granted, they can't anymore, but still they will try to find a way. Can't necessarily have them to keep beating your ass. These governments, these, collective shout having ass activist groups and people, there is no way you should let any of this shit slide, because the moment you let that slide, the moment you take a little bit off the gas, they'll start going back and trying to beat your ass with it. That's not how this shit worked this time. This time, people should be very much aware that, yeah, everything really is on BS. It really very much sucks. And at the end of the day, we do not have the time to let something like this happen again. Because if it happens again, first of all, we shouldn't even be in that sort of position. We shouldn't be in that position. But if it happens again, who knows? We might not even get a chance to fight out of it. And no matter how many people call up a lot of the stuff that's been happening or call it out and whatever, right? That just is what it is. We need to educate people on how, these sort of things are when it comes to what these different groups of people want to do, these different legislations, because there's still, introductions of legislations basically like what the UK has done that still is in America that we still need to worry about. The whole Screen Act, the COSA Act, all that stuff. That's still stuff that we need to worry about when it comes down to it. And hell, look at just a lot of the states that has banned adult sites when it comes down to it, and you have to use a VPN to access it. It's still not good overall. There is still lots of fighting to be done in order for everybody to basically still to get back their free choices of what they want to do. That is still something that we need to very much look at and really think about, because again, if no one really fights, we're all going to get hoed in some shape and form. And the last thing I want to say is more so about, a lot of these, I guess like activist groups that be super hard pressed with religion and things like that too. Here's my issue with those people when it comes down to it, is that if the whole world essentially wanted to be crisp and clean, never to do any sort of adult content again, murder, anything like that, I'm all for it. If everybody was basically on board, had a free choice as to what type of world they want to create, and if that was the world they want to create, I'm all for it. Let's do that. Here's the problem with that, with the way they're going about it. It's basically forced. You're not getting a choice. You're not getting any sort of choice whatsoever. Forcing people into shit makes people want to break out of stuff even harder, right? That's basically the huge problem with a lot of religious pushes like that. I would never want to sit here and just force somebody to believe in the same thing that I believe into. If you want to learn about it, and if you want me to sit here and explain to you certain things about it, and if you have a genuine interest in it, and it's your choice, then sure, I'll be more than happy to tell you about certain stuff. I'll be more than happy to tell you what I believe in. But if you don't want to necessarily hear that, and if I force that upon you, that just makes you hate me, hate the dang things I believe in, and stuff like that. That is a huge point that no one is really also saying when it comes down to it. You can't force people into certain situations or certain things, right? That is the point of having a free choice. When it comes to life in general, if you do not have a free choice, and you're basically being forced into things all the time, people will want an out. It doesn't matter how dangerous that out is. It doesn't matter how crazy that out can be. People will always want an out. And again, if it comes down to something like, things like religion or beliefs or political views or whatever, people will always find it out if they're being forced. They have to do it on their own. They have to choose to come through if they want to go down like a religious path or whatever, they have to choose to do that on their own instead of trying to, get people to force them to go down that path, because you're just making people hate that thing and hate you along with it. And that's just not how that is. Like, yes, I believe in like Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit and things like that as well myself. I am a firm believer when it comes down to it. I don't act like it, but I am a firm believer. But when it comes down to it, I'm not gonna force people on here. I ain't gonna start making like videos on YouTube to be like, all right guys, we're gonna talk about Ecclesiastics something verse something. Like, if I did that, everybody's gone. There was no point in me becoming a content creator. But that's the point. They have to come on their own when it comes down to it, instead of being forced into it. So that's a huge reason why people are mad as hell. It's the way they are. The huge reason why, people are very much against censorship and the way it's being done. Especially a huge reason why, as people like Collective Shout and any of these activist groups are getting straight up beat they ass in the streets, verbally at least, when it comes down to it, because no one wants to be forced into anything. All I'm saying is it comes back to choice. All I'm saying is that's what you really have, and that's what's really important. I choose to go to the hub and, watch some cosplayers get their cheeks beat in by someone that's not me, unfortunately. Or I choose to lead a cleaner life and essentially go ahead and, I don't know, volunteer work and do other stuff. The fact that you have a choice is essentially crucial when it comes down to it. The fact that anybody has a choice is very much crucial when it comes down to it. You choose the path of censorship. You choose the path to not be censored. There is always a choice. As long as you have that choice and the choice is there, then that is what it is. It is the best way to be, living as a person. The moment that choices are forced upon you and you don't really get anything out of it, that's when people start fighting back. And that's again why people are clapping back at a lot of these credit card companies and a lot of these other people when it comes down to it. And the only hope that we have is that no one else gets forced into anything that they don't want to, especially people like, these credit card companies again with like Japan and how they've been doing them for years. I'm hoping they'll figure something out to, fix that situation, but we'll have to see. Choice matters. If you don't have a choice, people are going to fight. It is as simple as that. But that is essentially all I really wanted to say about this one, really. There was a lot kind of mixed into this, but still wanted to talk about it because of how serious this sort of thing is. You should not be giving up your information to people by force. You should not be necessarily, be forced to do really anything. And ultimately, there is just so much about the situation that really could be had a whole damn documentary or essay about, because of how crazy and wild this whole thing has gotten. But ultimately, I'll just end it there. So hopefully you still enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well, which also, I've seen people with PayPal been getting slapped hard recently and getting their accounts yeeted and taken away, which is why I have Cash App. If you have that, you can use that to donate through that, which was fine. But again, that's like a whole nother thing when it comes down to it, though, right? Because PayPal should not be doing half of the stuff they've been doing, and I feel like it's honestly, they should be sued, or it should be illegal for them to do all the account pulling, especially when they get all that money from you and do whatever the hell they want to, because that's honestly legitimately crazy that they do. But that's all I really want to say, so hopefully they enjoy, and until then, it's your boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.